Hey everyone, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to use 3D printing and neon signs in order to create a cool looking sign just like this. Hey everyone, Brandon here, and in today's video I'm going to show you exactly how to model, create, design, and actually assemble this into a functioning piece of neon art. Okay, now this art is actually, or this sign is actually modeled after a famous video game character, Kirby, and I decided to go with this character as I think it looks absolutely amazing after you assemble it, but it also shows you a really good start to finish process from the actual creation of the product, and as well as assembling the actual neon into the actual 3D print itself, and then being able to create something from scratch and then being able to create something like this. Now, we are going to cover a ton of topics in this video, and it's going to be kind of a long video. But in this video, I'm going to show you an exact overview of exactly what you will learn, the exact modeling process to actually model this and sending this off to print, then the actual tools you'll need to actually make this into a reality, and then from there being able to actually assemble this into a neon sign using that 3D print, and then creating those final touches so you have something that looks like this. Additionally, if you stick around to the end, I'm also going to show you exactly how to make it into a Bluetooth sign as well. Now, if you were to go and buy neon online, whether that's having a custom piece of neon made for you, whether that's lettering, whether that's a piece of artwork, or some specific logo, they can be pretty expensive. But what if you can actually take that and use 3D printing to actually create your own neon sign for under $50 or $75 or less? So that's exactly what I'm going to show you in today's video. Now, with this video, you will need a good idea or a good general knowledge of a couple of topics. First thing is modeling in Fusion 360, as we'll be using Fusion 360 to create and actually model this project. The second thing is having a good amount of knowledge when it comes to 3D printing on its own. Obviously, 3D printing and modeling kind of go hand in hand, but having an existing or prior knowledge to 3D printing can also help you with this design right here, as you will need a printer, an actual PLA, and additional resources to actually make this project. The third thing, it also helps out a lot if you already have an existing experience with soldering or dealing with electrical equipment or using neon in any way, shape, or form. Now, I'm going to cover all of these topics in complete detail in this entire video, so just keep that in mind. But it does help if you do have some existing knowledge, as it will expedite the process. Now, just keep in mind, this video will be fairly long, but I'll try to condense as much information as I can within a short amount of time, but also being able to deliver someone this exact same result, even if you are a complete beginner in 3D printing, in modeling, in soldering, or into assembling something like this, and then by the end of it, you being able to create some sign, whether it looks exactly like this or your own sign, and you being able to have that experience or knowledge to actually do this on your own. And even better, if you do like this process, if you do enjoy solving problems, modeling, creating stuff like this, you could possibly even turn it into a business. And this is a really big business, and people are willing to pay good money for neon signs as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started with the video. Okay everyone, so welcome to the modeling portion of this video. Now in this video we are going to cover exactly how to model the design, so you guys can take this design and you actually could start printing it and then start assembling the neon, in which we are going to cover later on in the video. Now if you do not want to cover the modeling section, you can go ahead right down below, there's a chapter section. You can skip to the part where you'd like. If you are not familiar with Fusion 360, a lot of this stuff might go over your head. This video is not for beginners. You should have at least a good amount of knowledge when it comes to modeling in Fusion 360, and as well as maybe some experience. Or if you are an absolute beginner in modeling but you actually still want to watch this, then it still would be helpful for you to do it anyway. Now with that said, if you guys prefer just to print this out and actually assemble the neon and follow along when it comes to modeling, or excuse me, when it comes to assembling the neon, there will be a link down below where you can actually purchase this design. Obviously it's at a cost, but if you want to do it for free, then I'll show you exactly how to do it, and you just pick whichever price you want to pay. Obviously, you'd either pay for it or you either learn it for free here. So it's up to you. I'm giving you the option, and just to keep things fair and transparent. So with that said, the first thing we are going to do is open up Fusion 360. Now, I already have the actual model design here. This is actually an older design, but this is actually one that I printed and I showed you guys in the video. And you can see this is the actual design here. We have the eyes, we have the mouth, we have the arms, and then we have the leg here. And if I were to show you exactly what I was aiming for when it came to the final product, let me just show you really quick. So I wanted to create a neon design that could hide the wires and also still look cool, and as well as, you know, being able to kind of show off the neon in a different way. Traditionally, neon, a neon flex is put into acrylic that is cut out by a CNC machine, but with this it's a little different because now we can 3D print the actual design itself. Oops, now this just went away. And what I cared about was having to fit the actual silicon neon or the neon flex into a space and actually hide the wiring down below, because you can see here I did not want wires coming out of the back of this design. And from there, I wanted a design that, you know, it kind of looks like it was something assembled out of a factory or like a toy in a sense, where everything's hidden and you only see the main portion of the design. And that's what I really wanted to accomplish. Now, obviously, this could be changed up and reiterated many ways, and it's still many improvements to come, but this is just exactly what I created, and this is the end result. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the modeling process here. I'm going to just turn off my analysis. And this is what we are going to create in this video, okay? So you can see here, I'm gonna just turn off this profile, and this is something that I had someone on Fiverr model for me. This was an older design, and I took off these little pieces here, the little cheeks. The reason why is because if you have like an Ender 3 or a smaller print bed, it's really difficult to fit neon flex in such tight spaces here. So if you have a bigger printer, it's a lot easier as you have a lot more room to play with. Any sort of printer that has at least a build volume of at least 300 by 300 on the X and Y, it would make things so much easier to make this. But if you have like an Ender 3, Ender 3 Pro, Ender 5, any printer that's under 250, millimeters on the X and Y, then going with this design would probably be really difficult, which is why I chose this design here. Additionally, I do have a printer in the background running, guys, so just bear with me if you guys can hear that. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Now, if you don't know how to import this, I'm actually going to leave a link down below where you guys can actually download the profile here, and you guys will be able to import it into your Fusion 360 program. So here, it's pretty simple. Insert canvas, insert from computer, and I'm just drag it in here and then click open. Okay, then just select a side where you want to put it, enter. Next thing here is depending on what kind of printer you have. If you have a printer with a bigger build volume, then you can obviously follow along in this video. It doesn't matter if you have a bigger or smaller. If you have an Ender 3 or just a medium sized build plate, then you want to put it by 8.5 height. So let me show you exactly what to do. You're gonna right click, calibrate. Oops, clicked the wrong one. So right here, calibrate, and I'm just top to bottom. Then you'd obviously set it to whatever that might be. So this is gonna be 8.5. If you have an Ender 3, Ender 3 Pro, a small build plate, then it'll be 8.5. If you have a bigger one, let's just say you have like a CR10, CR10 Pro, anything with like a 300 by 300, then you can probably even make this a little bigger, and the instructions for this video will be pretty much the same. So I would say anywhere between 11.2. I'm just trying to consider the arms. So if you have like a 300 by 300, then 11.2 would be just fine. So with that said, I'm gonna just go back into our primary one, as I'm sure most of you watching this will have this this sort of size. Next thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna create a sketch. I'm gonna draw on there, and it's fairly simple. The first thing we need to do here is actually just start sketching. So actually, one mistake that I made here is I need to create a new component, because I don't want to build on top of my existing one. Kirby 8.5 profile. There we go. So here I am here. Everything's gone. So I'm gonna go ahead and create my sketch. And here we go. So it's very simple, guys. So you're just gonna go in here and just start drawing everything. So I'm using the spline tool for this part right here. It's very simple stuff, just going along the edges. Check, oops, check there. And then from here, same exact thing, just moving the points so I can model along where I'm trying to. Okay. Okay, so now we have the leg. Let's see here, let me just make sure, double check, everything's okay, we're all set here. So don't worry about any fine details just yet, we're just gonna be sketching this first. The next thing you wanna sketch, so I'm gonna make this legs, so this is gonna be the parts where we're sketching the legs only. Make this legs. Same exact thing here, but instead, this time, model it here. Perfect. So here we go. Just gonna do the same exact thing. And just perfect. So I did not close this off. Now there's a reason for this. So to explain this properly, since we have a closed circle here on this leg, where pieces here connect, I had closed this off. You can see here these things connect to this, this connects to this, this connects to this. But since this is a leg here and this has an open connection here, I left this open. Now let me explain a little bit more. It makes more sense if I were to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So what I'm going to do here next is create the outline. So I actually want to create the outline where I can fit the neon and I can fit the wiring in, and where the neon sits, and then the wall to hold the neon in. So it's really simple. 0.075 for the offset, and just follow along and it'll make a little bit more sense as we do this. So this is a 0.1, 0.75, or excuse me. What's going on here? You can see this is a 0.075, 0.1 offset again, 0.275, 0.3, and then 0.375. Okay, all I'm doing here is just creating the outline of what my leg is going to look like. Okay, where the neon's going to sit. So the neon's going to sit between here, between this leg, or between this line and then this line right here. The wiring is going to fit between this line and this line right here. So this section right here is where the wiring is going to sit. This section is where the neon's going to sit. And these are going to be the walls that hold everything in. And these are the dimensions here, so you guys can take a look at that. And from here, we're just creating the sketch, okay? Don't worry about anything else. This one, we're going to repeat this exact same process, but it's slightly different. So offset again. That's O on the keyboard. It's going to be a negative 0.075. Same exact thing. Negative 0.1. Negative 0.275. Negative 0.3. Negative 0.375. Okay, so here we have our leg here. Now you can see the difference here is that if you are familiar with Fusion 360, since this is closed, we can actually move this on where we can actually extrude this. See? But since it's not closed, this is not closed, you can't actually extrude this. Basically meaning that these sections are not closed yet, so we cannot even model this into a 3D design just yet. So what I'm going to do here is actually just go ahead and close these. And there we go. Now we have our basic legs portion of this design. The next thing we can do is we can model the arms. So I'm gonna just create a new sketch, and I'm creating a new sketch for every piece of the design. So we have the legs here, and this is going to be the arms. Okay, exact same thing as we did here. Now when it comes to, excuse me, so spline tool here. When it comes to modeling pieces that are connecting, you want to make sure that you're modeling within, so your starting point should be within the previous sketch here. Even though we're not using that sketch right now, there's a reason for that, and I'll show you why later on in the video. So I'm actually going to start off right around here, so it's actually inside the other sketch that we made, and just do the exact same thing. And this is kind of the long and boring process of this, just kind of creating sketches around your design or the reference image. And this part does take quite a bit of time, but I promise you everything will be much easier once we make this into a 3D piece. Do the exact same thing. All the dimensions are going to be the same, so if you want to write this down, you can go ahead. It's going to be a 0.075, 0.1, 0.275, 0.3, 0.375. Same exact thing, and I'm going to close this off since we want to extrude it at some point. There we go. Same exact thing here with the top. Spline tool. So if you're wondering how I get that menu option here, I just press S on my keyboard and I had saved the spline tool as a quick shortcut here. Same exact thing. Oops, going back. Spline. Oops, I chose fit point spline. See, control, we're using the control point spline. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already, but going back. Perfect. So exact same thing, just fixing the points. You want it to go off the reference as much as to the reference as possible. Take your time with this. Same exact thing, 0.075, 0.1, 0.275, 0.3, 0.375. Same exact thing. We're going to close this off. And there we go. Now we have the arms. The next thing is the actual body itself. New sketch. And same exact thing. Now additionally, you probably could just draw a big circle, but there'd be a lot more steps involved. Well, probably not, but there would be probably another step involved when it comes to just drawing a big circle. It'd probably be much more even, but I'm just doing it this way. It's totally up to you. If you know how to do it with the big circle, then go right ahead. Okay, what's going on? Okay. Now I'm just going to model this accordingly. I think I drew a lot of points. And I'm gonna move this here. Perfect. So I'm actually gonna hide the legs and arms. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm gonna offset this 0.075, 0.1, 0.275, 0.3, 375, and there we go. Same exact thing. Close this off and finish sketch. Now we have the body. So let me just rename this body. We have the arms and we have the legs. The next thing is to move on to the actual eyes itself. Now, I'm going to do this later on in the video, and I'll cover that in just a section, but we're actually going to start extruding and getting started with that, as I'm sure you guys want to see exactly what it looks like when it comes to the extrusion process. So with this, just going to quickly save this, and it's fairly simple. So we've already designed exactly the spacing between the neon, or the neon here, and the wiring in the middle here, and as well as the walls, in order to hold all of that inside. So in order to extrude it, just press E on your keyboard, and I'm gonna select the walls here. Okay, so these are the walls, and I'm gonna put this to a 0.6, and that's going to be height. Okay, 0.6. Same exact thing. So I'm actually gonna hide the arms and legs. I'm gonna bring up my sketch again and do the exact same thing, extrude, and this one is going to be a 0.3. And you're gonna want to make sure that this is a join, okay? Do not put this as a new body, or you're gonna have to combine those later on. It's just extra steps. Same exact thing in the middle, 0.05, join. Perfect. Now we have a closed, oops, keep doing this. This circle looks a little bit weird, but it's okay. I'll fix it. Now we have a closed circle. Now we have an actual 3D modeled portion of the Kirby leg, which is great. Extrude this, and you can see here that's all we are doing. It's nothing too fancy. 0.3 E 0.05, and then there we go. Now we have our legs. Now if you've modeled the design, and some of this, so this looks like a weird circle here. You can see it kind of goes up and then down. You can tell by this here. If you want to just go back, you don't have to like do anything special. You could just hide the bodies, and then you could just start remodeling it here. Or you can even do it with the bodies here, but my Fusion 360 is not, or my computer's going to slow down quite a bit if I do it this way with the body being shown. But if you have a faster computer, then obviously you can do that. You can see there I'm making those adjustments, and everything is adjusting along with it. Do that. Okay, I think that looks fine. Okay. Same thing here for the arms. Now I'm actually going to hide this body here and this body here. We don't need that, and there's a reason for that. So if we were to extrude this, it would automatically set this up as a join, but I do not want to join this just yet. So just going to hide that and just going to extrude it as if it's its own thing. 0.6, same exact thing. Arms extrude, 0.3, extrude 0.05, and then there we go. Same thing for this top arm. Extrude 0.6, 0.3, 0.05. Perfect. Now we have the legs and the arms. Now we need the body. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing for the body. 0.6. Bring back the sketch. 0.3. 0.05. And then there we go. Now we have pretty much what is almost a complete design, besides the actual eyes and mouth. And this looks so far so good. Now there's a couple of things we need to cover. First things first is that we want to get rid of these walls here, because we obviously need the wiring to connect all around. You can see we have walls here. We can see that this is not even connected. This one is overlapping by quite a bit, and this one's overlapping by quite a lot. So we want to make sure we clean all of this up. So the way you can do this is that if I would press S on my keyboard and press combine, or type in combine that, the target body would be the actual circle itself, and then all we're doing is that we're connecting those extremities. But before I do that, I do want to fix this really quick before I move on. So let's see. Okay, perfect. Just quickly save that. S again, combine. Target body is the circle. Now we're just connecting every single body here. Okay. And then there we go. Nothing has happened really. It's just all that's happened is that it's combined all those extremities and connected to one single body. So this is entire piece. Perfect. Now let's start cleaning everything up so we have a better design. So all you really need to do here, so it's really simple. Just go into here and start cleaning everything up. You want to delete the faces that you don't need. And we obviously want to make a hole here. So let's see. Let's see if we can delete that. Perfect. Now it's open. So all I did, delete this, delete this, delete this. I deleted this face here and press delete. Okay. You can do the exact same thing here. Let's see. This one's a little bit different. So actually I'm going to go back. And I'm actually going to delete this first because I think it'd be an issue if we didn't delete this one first. Delete that, delete that. Oops. Delete. There we go. So we have a clean deletion. So yeah, I'm going to leave it as is. Don't worry about this just yet. I'm actually going to leave that for later. So I'm just delete the things that are overlapping first, and there's a reason for this. So this is the tricky part, guys, because you need to delete the faces that you don't need. But there you go. Now I got it to be deleted. Same exact thing here. Delete that. Perfect. And this, I think if I delete it, it's not going to delete evenly though. Yeah, that was the issue in the first place. So it was that. Yeah, I don't think even that will go be able to delete. So what if I just... Yeah, I just fillet this. Okay, so all I did is just press F on my keyboard and create a fillet. So may not be the, you know, what you should be doing, but I guess it also gets the job done. Same thing here. This is perfect. No need to delete. This one we do. I can see there's a little bit of a gap here, but as long as it's connected and probably wouldn't be able to tell during the printing process, then it's fine. Delete that. Perfect. Same exact thing. This top piece here, delete. Oops. Delete. Okay, so I went ahead and completed the entire process. Now everything's already cleaned up. Everything looks to be fine here. So just double checking because there's a lot of little things that you can go unnoticed lots of the time, and you just want to make sure you cover all your bases. But assuming you have that done, the next thing we need to do is start creating the actual holes so where the pieces can connect. You can see here, judging by this could be actually fine if this is what you're going for. So if you'd imagine, this is where the neon would sit, and this is where the other one neon would sit. But it actually would be fine if you have a wall here that's disconnecting these two. But the thing is that when you have this wall, you know, it may not be the look that you're going for. So we're actually just going to delete that. And deleting the walls is fairly simple. All you need to do is just delete this wall here and delete this wall here. So this is actually two for some reason. Going in here, delete, and it should be good. Oh, let's see, there's an issue here. Okay, so let's see. So let's try on another side. Let's see. I think what it's doing is that it's trying to connect the faces. Yep, so totally fine. So what we're gonna do here, instead of just deleting two sides, we're gonna delete all of them. So Let's do this one, this one, and a fusion to automatically fix itself to know that we're trying to accomplish a certain thing. Delete this wall here. This one. And if I delete it, all of it should go away here. So okay, so checking here, I can see that it's did not delete. Let's see, let me just see what's going on. Another option is just to extrude these. Oh, you can't extrude these, never mind. It's an interesting. So, trying to think of other options to deleting this. Let's see. You can see it closes it off rather than actually fixing itself, which is not what we want. We can't extrude it either. Let's see if we can offset the face. No. Offset it, let's see what it does. Okay, so all I did here was offset the face. It's probably not the right way of doing. This is absolutely not even the right way of doing it. But we gotta solve problems here. So these are. So I'm not too advanced on Fusion 360 to be like, hey, this is what you need to do exactly. But let's see. Okay, there it goes. Now I deleted it. So all I did here was offset the face. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is probably not the best way of doing it. I don't remember exactly how I did it the first time. I believe the way I did it the first time was creating a hole. So I clicked on hole, create a hole here, but this is not the way you'd want to do it. So I'm going to do the exact same here. I'm going to do a press pull option here and just offset the face. Oops. Let's see, new offset. Let's try that. Okay, I sectioned this as a new offset, but I can see that there is some issues here. Saw that line. So I'm delete this, give it another try. Nope. Okay. What is this? So do this again. Press pull. It'll be a new offset. I'm just going to ignore that line that's doing that. Hopefully that doesn't affect any other piece. Do the exact same thing. We're just going to delete the face. Fingers crossed. Perfect. And just double check all the other areas. Let's just see, because I saw that line shift and I want to make sure everything else is fine. Okay, so it looks like it fits itself. I think the reason why it wasn't doing it is because it didn't have an open slot where if I deleted it, it would follow along, or Fusion would follow along where kind of know exactly what I wanted to accomplish, I guess. Same exact thing here. So let me know what you guys' thoughts in the comments. I'm not too sure about that one. Like I said, I'm not like an extreme expert by any means, but do the exact same thing here. So I'm gonna just press pull this, enter. It's gone, which is great. Just delete this face now. See if that makes it perfect. So it's quick and easy. Now it's making it easier for us. Press pull, enter. Perfect. So seems to be working out now. Deletes. Perfect. Same exact thing here. Great work. So making sure. Okay, so we have our final, near final completion of Kirby. So after that little issue there, we solved the problem. You can see, so when it comes to modeling things like this, nothing is so clear cut and simple. A lot of the times you will need to find a solution, and sometimes you don't even know the answer to it. So, but from here, I think we've solved the issue. There seems to be no existing issues in the design anymore, and this is great news. One additional thing I'd like to add is a little hole in here, because we do want the wire to come out. Now, it doesn't matter where you place it. I'm just going to leave it right here. Make this maybe a 0.3, so actually make it a 0.25. This is just for the wiring to come out somewhere. 0.25, it looks right there. And then there we go. The next thing is to actually model the eyes and the mouth. So I'm actually gonna model the mouth only and the eyes only. So if you have actually set this up to be for 11.2, when it went early on in the video when we actually calibrated the reference image, you can absolutely model the cheeks, but keep in mind that this is still slightly small. So I mean, really depends what you're going for. Later on in the video, I actually don't do the cheeks, so this is mainly for people with a average size printer, the general, what most people will have nowadays. So same exact thing here. I'm actually going to save this, and I'm gonna go ahead and start my sketch again. So I'm gonna sketch, and this is going to be face. Sketching my face now, so spline, and I'm going in here and just doing exactly what we did earlier. Okay, so now I've modeled the complete portion of the face. Now, it's not perfect by any means. I think the circles could use a little bit of work, but this is what we're going for. And don't mind if it doesn't look perfect. You can just go back and just kind of fix everything here. But with that, we're just going to continue forward. I think it looks a lot better now, but with this, looks great. So now the next thing we need to do is actually connect these pieces into the actual outer design that we have here, and connect the eyes to the mouth, because we need the wiring to hide somewhere. So this is a fairly simple process. This is actually not as difficult as you might think. You can easily just create another sketch. So I'm gonna just create a sketch here, and all I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna use L on my keyboard for a line. Just kind of draw a line here. Let's make this, let's see, there. And maybe that's a little too high. No, that's fine. Same exact thing here. Oops, do it again. Line, line. Okay. Then we need one here. Okay, so now that you created your squares, all you need to do is just extrude them. And this is going to be a 0.3. Make sure you put this to join, and they're connected. Now, they're not perfect by any means. We need to start cleaning this up and actually set this up so we can make this into an actual piece where we actually could fit in everything in. So I'm not too sure about this one. Let's see. Okay, cool. Looks good. I'm just cleaning this up really quick. Okay, great. So now that we've cleaned up our squares, it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. You're not trying to have a perfect inside. And the reason for that is that that's going to be hidden anyway. So what you can do here to create some sort of circle here where it goes through some sort of hole, so it goes through, you just use the hole feature here. It's probably not the best one for this case, but at least I don't believe it is. I'm sure there's a better way of doing it. Let's see, what if we do something else? No, because we already offset this. Okay, totally fine. Just create that hole. And it's going to be a 0.25. Let's say a 0.25. Maybe a 0.22. Just like that. Now we have a hole, but you can see this is actually still not. Oh gosh, why is it like this? Guys, this is crazy. Okay, so, what am I gonna do here? So let's do this. Finally. Okay, so created the hole. We could probably create another one, but one is fine. The wire is really small anyway, so here, another hole. Same exact thing. Okay, great. We still have the hole there. It's good. Now I do not want to make it too thin. The reason for that is that I do want enough filament, or at least a strong hold onto this mouth here. That's the only thing holding it. Now you could have both of these connected, but I'm trying to go with the least amount of work while still being able to get the job done. But with that said, that's pretty much it. We've completed the step-by-step process. We have everything laid out. This is actually something we can take off to print if we wanted to. And in order to do that, so I have Cura right here. I'm just gonna close this like this. And all you need to do here is I'm gonna quickly save this, and we have this entire body here. Right click, save as mesh, set it to millimeter, Cura, and here we go. That's the entire piece. Now I have I'm using a longer to print this. I'm using 0.6. These are the settings that I use for a 0.6. Could work for you, could not, but it depends on your printer. So let's see how long this is gonna take with the 0.6 nozzle. About 4 hours and 5 minutes to print this. You can see this is the estimated time, so it's not too bad. I think maybe there could be some adjustments, but that's pretty much it. We've essentially completed I essentially completed the initial promise of showing you guys exactly how to do that. So if I were to show you, this is, which one did we create? This is the one I showed you in the video, or prior to getting started. This is actually not even the cleanest one. And here is what we've completed here. So this one looks great. I think maybe
A couple of things we could fix is maybe rounding the corners here, but I'm not trying to be too specific about things or really picky. But other than that, I think it looks fine. And this is something that's ready to be sent off to print. Great. Let me just check the bottom. Let me show any issues. No issues at all. And you can see here, now that we have a final project, all the wiring will kind of fit in place, and all the wiring will kind of lead back into this main central point here where it'll come out. And that's where the, you'd connect that to some sort of LED remote or an outlet, so you can actually have this powered on and working. So with that said, let's move on to the next section of the video.
Okay, so here I have the actual print itself, and I think the print turned out amazing. Now, there is a couple of things I probably would need to fine tune on my printer. The first thing is probably the retraction settings. I can see there is a lot of stringing going on here. And I was printing using my Ender 3 Pro, and my Ender 3 tends to have a tougher time when it comes to retraction compared to my Ender 5. So probably would have to tweak some things. But other than that, I think it actually turned out great, especially for what we are going to accomplish here today in this video. But with that said, what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually just clean this up just a little bit so we can continue on and move forward. Okay, so I managed to clean everything up on the design. You can see there's not as many strings coming out of it anymore. There's still a little bit. I could have probably done a little bit of a better job, but other than that, many of the main stringing or all of that that was on the design at first is pretty much gone. Anything that's in between, in the middle, I'm not going to worry about it too much, as we'll actually put something over that that will cover it anyway, which is the neon. But with that said, I think it's ready to go, so we can start assembling this and putting it and making it into an actual neon sign. So let's just jump right into it. Okay everyone, so we are going to go ahead and actually get started with this project, okay? So here I have the actual print itself, and this is going to be our working area when it comes to putting everything together and actually creating this and turning this into a neon sign. So there are a few disclaimers I need to get out the way before we can actually get started. Now, first things first is that I would highly recommend searching up on YouTube on guides and tips and an introduction to soldering. I don't want you guys to get hurt. I'm not an expert by any means, but I would highly recommend looking at tutorials or having some sort of knowledge prior. That way you guys can go into this project having some sort of existing background or experience, or some at least acknowledgement of this, okay? I don't want you guys to get hurt. We will be dealing with electrical wiring and stuff like that, and we will be soldering, and there is a possibility of getting injured if you're not careful. So I just want to let you guys know that in advance. That way you guys are responsible and that you guys use fair judgment for this project. Additionally, another thing, non-related to the soldering part, is that this print itself it's about 8.5 inches, 8.4, somewhere around that realm in terms of height. And because of that, when we're fitting the neon strips, this is a relatively small print, so there's not really a lot of working area, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Now, the reason for that is because when we're dealing with neon flex or neon strips, typically when it's a larger print or a larger size, it's a lot easier to fit in the strips and having more of a working area, and fitting wiring into certain areas and making sure that the strips, they're put together in a nice format. So you'll see more what I mean towards the end of this video. But ideally, if you have a larger printer, like a longer 5 or something like that, or an Ender 5 Max, whatever that Ender 5 might be, with the larger print bed, I would highly recommend starting with that. Since I'm using an Ender 3, I don't have a printer that has a large print bed, so we're gonna have to work within this radius. Now, if you do have a larger print bed, I do highly recommend printing at a larger size, as the installation will be a lot easier and a lot less tedious than when you're dealing with the smaller size. But with the smaller size comes its advantages, as it's more portable, it looks nicer. You can fit this into a box. It's a lot less, not as heavy, and it looks great. There's just several advantages to having a larger size, and a larger size just makes everything look easier. So like I said, if you can print it with a larger printer bed,
and make this enlarge it so it's a little bit bigger. I'd say anywhere from like 10 to 11 inches in terms of height, and whatever the size and the sides might be, then that would be totally fine. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started with the actual assembly and uncovering what tools you will need in order to make this process or this project a reality. So the first thing you will need is some sort of pliers. So this is actual, I'm not sure what these are called exactly, I totally forgot, but these allow you to cut, but also strip wiring, so you can show the actual wiring in the wire. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. So this is the wire you will be using to connect or to solder, and this is primarily used as well to actually strip the wire. That way you can expose the parts that actually solder. So I don't know if this is going to focus. Okay, I guess not. Totally fine. But you will be needing this, and you will be needing this. This will be cutting into the neon strips itself, and this will also be cutting into the wire. So you will need this. That is not optional. Additionally, you will need some glue. I highly recommend getting this one. This one works really well for Neon Flex. It does a really good job at bonding the strips. Not any glue will work fine, but I do recommend this one, as the neon itself kind of has like that silicone texture, and it does really well at connecting that, or at least creating an adhesive strong enough where they don't disconnect. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in just a second. Another thing is the actual wiring. So this is the red and black wire, and also for this project, the red part is positive and the black part is negative. So this project is fairly simple, but you will need to keep that in mind, as you will be essentially a lot of this process when it comes to soldering this type of design, you will be basically stripping this wire here. So let's just say if I'm like stripping it here, and then let's see, oh, not exposing. Okay, I'm just gonna use this side. Basically just stripping the wire where it's exposed, it's not focusing, and then you're basically going to go in there and solder. And you will need this wire. You know, I think this is a 22G wire. I'll be leaving the links down below in the description, like I said, and you will need this wire. It's not doable without it. I would highly recommend also getting some sort of pincers, as since we're dealing with areas that have little small holes inside. If you do remember in the modeling video, there are areas where we create holes where we can connect the wire into the project. That way we don't have any sort of exposed wires coming out of it. For example, in this eye here, there's a hole right here, and then there's a hole that comes out here. And we have the wire coming through here, and it comes out of this eye. And you will need something like this to actually push in the wire and actually pull it out from this side so it comes out. Now, obviously by hand you could still do it, but it probably would be a lot more tedious and probably a little bit rougher on your nails as well. So recommend having some sort of, I don't know, maybe pincers, I think that's what they're called, but these will be incredibly useful. Another thing you will need is soldering wire. You will need this. This is the type of fine solder wire that I'm using. I will leave links down below in the description. That way you guys can take a look at that. Another thing you will need is, or which is completely optional, is a Bluetooth piece. So this is an LED controller, and the way this works is that you solder this into the neon itself, either from the starting position or as an additional piece, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. But this essentially allows you to adjust the brightness, the intensity, the modes, the speeds, and this is a great upgrade to that. So this can turn any sort of neon sign into a completely Bluetooth wireless type of effect, and it looks great, especially if you're, if you have a business creating neon signs for people, and you can add this as an additional upgrade for like 30 bucks, and these are fairly cheap. These are probably about $5 for one of these. I think if you buy two, they're $8. So these are really cheap. These are optional, like I said, but hey, if you want to turn your sign into a Bluetooth one, or into one with a remote, then obviously this works well. So that's what you will need for this project. Additionally, you will obviously need the actual neon itself. So I have white, I have red, and then I have pink. And how it's gonna look is that we have the red as the feet, and then we have the pink as the main body, and the eyes are gonna be white, okay? So that's exactly what it's gonna be. Now, when you're looking for neon strips itself, you wanna make sure these are the DIY, or the ones that you buy are the DIY kind. And you can tell by that little black line there, that little black line is where you can actually cut into it and you're able to solder into the wire itself. You can solder just about anywhere, but ideally if you can find ones with a little bit closer, so there's some with different intervals of how far they are. So if they're farther apart, it makes it just a little bit harder, as you need to use more or less neon strips. But there's some that are, you know, they're very frequent. So there could be one here, 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 here. But this one is here, and then here, and then here. So it makes more sense in practice. If you go on Amazon, you'll find plenty like this, and they're not that expensive either. So you will need this to make this project into the reality. So like I said, since this is neon, you will be needing this. So with that said, the last thing you will need is an actual soldering rod iron. So this is what I'm going to be using for this project here. Now you can find these very cheaply. So this one's a really cheap one. I actually purchased this one with a kit, and I think it was about $25. And this kit actually came with this, and it actually came with some of this wire here. I don't think it was this wire, I think it was something different, but I was using this primarily for this project. I think it also came with this wire, I don't remember, but it's really cheap. So you really don't have to go over about $30 to make this project a reality. If you already have the PLA, if you already have the tools, you don't need to purchase anything else. But if you don't have the PLA, you'll obviously need to purchase the PLA color. Now black will do just fine, but I'm using pink because obviously it's Kirby and that's the kind of like the theme we're going for. So I actually purchased the PLA. So that's about $25. You will need to buy the soldering kit. So this and the soldering iron, and I think it came with a little bit of wire. So that was about $25 as well. And I think it also came with this as well. Or excuse me, it didn't come with this. I actually purchased this additionally. If you don't have this, you can also use your printers, the one that came with your printer, you can use this as well. Now keep in mind, this may not be your main one that you want to use. Maybe just for this project just once. You will want to buy one that is specifically for these types of projects. The reason why is because obviously you're using this for your printer and you ideally want to keep your tools specific to that niche, whatever that might be in. So you will need a soldering iron. This one goes all the way up to about 500, almost 500. So that's really hot. So, but we won't need to take it any more than 400 Celsius there. So I'll leave it right there, and I'll actually set this off to the side and I'll let it heat up on its own. So with that said, additionally, one last thing before we get started, you will obviously need some sort of DC input to connect this to. So this wire right here is actually connected to an outlet. This is a 12-volt DC connector that you connect to the outlet. So let me just show you guys what that looks like. So this is this, and this is the wiring here. This is 12 volts. This is a DC outlet here. This is about, I think, $7. They are cheaper if you buy more, but this is a fairly inexpensive purchase. And what I have here is just a connector that connects to this like this. So this is the I don't remember. I think this is the female DC to wire. I don't remember. I'll leave links down below in the description. Like I said, you will need these tools, and I'll make sure to post ones that are optional and then post ones that are mandatory to make this work. So that way you guys know exactly what you will need for this project. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so now that we are going to get started with the project, the first thing we need to do is start cutting the neon strips and setting the strips into its proper location. So let me just show you what I'm referring to. So from here, I have a strip of pink. Now, obviously it doesn't look pink, just judging by the color of this, but let me just show you how it looks when it's actually turned on. So you can see as I connect it, I'm not actually connecting it, it's just touching. You can see there, all I'm doing is just having the positive wire touch the positive end and then the negative wire touch the negative end. You see, it's actually not soldered on yet, but I'm just kind of showing you briefly that, okay, I know that this one here is pink. And because I know it's pink, I know that this is actually going to fit or go into areas around here. So let me just show you where it's going. So it's going to go into this outline right here. That's our pink. You can see this design is perfect for this because it fits the neon strip into it. And from here, now that we know the approximate size, I know that all I do is just basically fit the strip in here all the way around until it reaches the very end and where I know I need to cut it. And you can see here, ideally I need to cut it right around. I'm going to cut this strip here and then I'm going to tuck it back in. So let's go ahead and do that. Take this right here and I'm actually just going to cut it along that little black line. And then it should cut fairly easily. Oh, there it goes. It should actually cut a lot easier. I don't know why that one was a little bit of a pain. But you can see here, we have our very first set. Now, obviously, we're not done. This is just kind of setting the framework, but we're just piecing everything together first. So here we have our pink, which is the outline of the Kirby. So I'm gonna just move along from that. And then I'm going to move on to the actual red piece of the Kirby. So here I have another neon. Let me just take this out. Now unfortunately, I couldn't find the manufacturer that makes this neon. They had no more red. So I'm gonna have to use this one, which is a different brand. And it's slightly different, but you can actually see it's just about the same. You can see there's a difference in the cutting length there. So that's probably one thing that I might not be sure about this neon, but it should still work. So I'm just cutting this off. I'm just do a quick test just to make sure it turns on before I waste any time on it. You can see here, ideally if you purchase the neon, you want to make sure you get it from the same brand. When they're different brands, they tend to quality control is always a thing, so you want to make sure you get the same brand. Okay, it turns on, perfect. I don't think it's a good clean color though. Let me double check here. I'm stripping the wire. Perfect. So the red will work just fine here. It looks a little bit orangey on camera, but this is actually red in person. So I'm just letting you guys know, on camera, it looks a little bit orangey, but it's actually red in person. But that's totally fine. Let's just keep moving forward. I actually will not be needing this. Sometimes these manufacturers put this as a connector, assuming that you'll be using this for DIY purposes. Now I do not need this by any means, so I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this. And it's pretty simple, just going ahead, taking my thing here, just cutting it just like that. It shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be as difficult as the first time. So from here, I'm gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing, but for the leg this time. And how I'm gonna do this is that I actually want this piece to connect to the leg. And let me show you what I'm referring to. So I'm gonna take this and just kind of set the outline here. So this is the outline. This is how much we will need. You can see here, there's the black line right here. So we need to cut there in order to make this work. So cut, and there we go. So you can see we have a lot more than we need, but that's totally fine. You'd rather have more than you need than less. Ideally cutting it to size is better, but we don't want to worry about these details just yet. You can see here, so we have this, and how it's going to look like, or towards the end result, is that this is going to fit into here, and then we're going to have this, when it's cut off, glued to this piece right here, so it looks like it's joined, like it's together. So I'm not worrying about these details just yet. I'm just basically just putting everything together first, and then we'll move on. Same exact thing on this leg, since this leg right here is red. Taking pieces and just setting up my outline, just as you would when you're making a drawing or you're sketching. You're essentially just drawing the outline first before you actually do any fine details. So that's as much red we will need. The next thing is that we will need some white. So actually before that, I think this side here is also pink. So I believe it's pink. Let me just double check. Okay, yes. So this side right here is also pink, and this side right here is also pink. So from there, we're just gonna take our pink one, and then this should fit perfectly in here. Perfect, that looks great. Now we have our strips. Now the next piece is our white. Now I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm going to skip this for now. This part is a little bit more tedious, and there's a lot of little things that we need to cover before we can get started on this. So I'm gonna get started with the easy stuff first, because I know the eyes are a little bit more tedious. Now obviously I can cut it to size, but I don't want to use up all the space just yet, just for strips lying around. So from here, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna start off with the very most easiest part I can set up. So the easiest part is this part. It's big, it's a circle, and there's an actual outlet here where the wire can come out and it connects to an outlet. So I'm gonna just double check and make sure my light works, and it works just fine. Perfect, so we're good to go. And what I'm gonna go ahead and do here is I'm actually going to get started and start cutting into this. Okay, so you guys wanna be careful with this. And basically what I'm doing is I'm going to cut this open where I can actually expose the strip inside of the actual silicone. So if I were to show you, and just pay close attention, so I'm trying to bring this as close as I can. Hopefully this wire works with me, so because this, I've never cut into this brand of, or this kind of silicone. This one's a little bit thicker, I can tell. So let me just try really quick. From here, yeah, this one's really thick, and you will want to just move along here. So it's kind of hard to tell on camera, but I'll cover exactly what I'm referring to in just a second. As you can see here, this one, I've never tried this type of neon. Unfortunately, the other manufacturer didn't have the neon I needed. So this one's completely new to me. I probably should have tested out before. So I'm not sure about what to do with the strip. The strip is extremely difficult to cut into. So if I were to show you what the ones that I use, what I use to cut into, it's a lot easier. Let's see here, if I were to go into it. See, it's a lot easier. It goes right through. See. And essentially what we are actually doing is just cutting this open and then exposing this. This is what we need to get into. See, this one works well. So this one, I will need some time to open this, but with that, you can see here, this is exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to expose that strip there. For some reason, this one is just way too thick to cut into. Kind of my error for picking this manufacturer. I actually could not, like I said, I could not find this. They were actually all out of red, unfortunately. So I kind of had to do, and you know, just with what I had. So I'm gonna go ahead and figure this one out, and I'll come back to you in just a second. Okay, so I managed to actually cut into it. I actually had to cut from the top, which is typically, I try to avoid cutting from the top. It's a lot easier to do so because all you can do is just fit this knife into. So if you were to imagine this side up top here is where the LEDs are, and this side is where there's just silicone. So, you know, cutting from the top, it's really easy because you could just go straight down, and you know, it kind of follows a path. In the middle, it's better because you don't have to cut from these open flaps and then leave these exposed like this. You can obviously glue it, but just ideally you don't want to do that. From here, we're exposing the strip here. Now you can see, if you were to pay close attention on the strip itself, it gives you an indicator. So this one, the top is negative, if I were to point it out to you. The top right here is negative, so that means the black wire, let's see, the black wire goes here, and the positive one goes there. See? Positive, negative. So that means we are going to solder our wire here, okay? Black and red there. It's fairly simple stuff. So from here, what I'm gonna go ahead and do here is I'm actually gonna begin the soldering process. I'm actually might cut this strip a little bit more because I wanna have more room to play with.
You can see here, this one doesn't have a lot. It's really far apart, so that's a big no-no for DIY. As you can see, compared to this one, the one that I'm using, there's so many. You know, there's one here, there's one there, there's one there, and the focus, you see, there's a bunch of these all over, and that makes it a lot easier when it comes to making this into reality. But with that said, I'm gonna just go ahead and get started with this. And okay, so here I have the actual piece ready to go, and it's ready to be soldered. So I'm just gonna move the camera a little bit closer so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing as I do it. Hopefully this will actually pick this up. Let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit. And from here, I'm gonna take my wire here, and then I'm gonna just begin the soldering process. So all I'm doing is just melting this. Like I said, if you already have existing experience, it makes this a lot easier, as you probably just already know this stuff. And I'm just gonna melt this down, that way we can have a fine. Perfect. So you can see there, what we essentially did was that we melted this wire right here onto the board there. And then from there, let me just make sure it has, you know, some sort of, let's see. Okay, it still works, perfect. We're good to go. From here, I'm actually just going to, so what I want to do here is I'm going to, let's see, I'm actually going to connect the Bluetooth remote to this. So I'm gonna have, what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually going to insert my actual wire into the design itself. Actually, let me make sure first. So before I do that, also these LED remotes, if you're gonna plan on using this, the side where you want to connect to the actual neon itself is the part where it says LED. Okay, there's a little indicator there. I actually made a mistake one time where I wasn't looking. I had done it the other way around, and if you do it the other way around, it's actually not going to work, because you know you have, this is where the outlet comes from. So assuming you have an outlet here connecting to here, and then this should obviously connect to the actual neon. Just letting you guys know, that way you guys don't make that same mistake. But from here, I'm just gonna insert this. And then let's see here. Now, if you obviously don't want to do it this way, another way to do it is just to have, you know, a longer piece of wire. Zoom out here. Just have like a longer piece of wire and then connect it there. So I'm just doing it from the origin, so it doesn't really matter. So I think what I'm going to do is just bring it in all the way here. So I'm just pull it in. If not, it's totally fine. It doesn't have to work right out the gate. So from here, I'm actually going to start the soldering process here. So I'm going to just connect the red to the positive side. So from here, I'm just going to take this wire that I have here, make this nice and neat, and I'm going to just zoom in so you guys can see this. And from here, take my rod, just solder this in. Perfect. Same exact thing. Perfect. And that looks great. So I'm gonna check just to make sure that it works, because that's important. Perfect, it turns on. And I think the reason why it's blinking is because it's probably set from the remote here. So I'm actually going to add another wire. Just going to do a double take, just connect it, see if this one works. It's great, works perfectly. Perfect. It's connected. Okay, so just to kind of recap so far. So here we have everything connected. Now you can see I have a total of 3 wires. Now there's a reason for this. So from here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just reattach my silicone because it's only cut open.
and I'm gonna just replace it back into the actual strip. So from here, there it goes. Now it's closed. Perfect. Now you can obviously go an extra step and actually glue this. That way you don't have any sort of conflict, but totally fine by me. I mean, it's not a big deal. And I'm just pull this in as I do want this to be in there. And then I'm actually gonna hide. Now here's the key part. A lot of this wiring here is actually gonna fit into this piece right here. You can see here, there's enough space where you can actually hide the wire, and that's important. So I'm gonna pull this in some more. That way, get started here. And I'm gonna just fit this strip of neon. Just fit the strip of neon into here. Now there might be a little bit of pressure just because you know, you're dealing with added. Now the strip has expanded just a little bit, so I'm just gonna push this in and make sure to hide the wire underneath. And then from there, we have our actual print made into a neon sign. You can see here, it fits perfectly. Now you don't even know that there's a wire anywhere in here. You just wouldn't know. Next thing I'm gonna do here is, I think one issue is that probably leaving it like this, that's why I didn't want to cut into it. Well, obviously I could cut more, but it was gonna be a pain in the butt. So I'm gonna just cut it to size here. So what I'm gonna do, okay, so I managed to get everything redone. So from here, we're pretty much set. So I'm just gonna give it a quick test just to make sure we are set. So let me see here, do a live test. Let's see, and oops. From there, oh, and it works, perfect. I think I need to strip these. Perfect, it works, that's amazing. Next thing is to check the remote. So remote is working. So I'm just gonna check the remote, just kind of disconnect it. And let's see, I'm gonna do just a soft check here. I just wanna make sure all the functions are there. So I'm not gonna solder these on. I just wanna do a check. I don't wanna commit too much just yet. So I'm gonna do this, have these slightly touching. And does it turn on? It does. Okay, yeah, that does. Okay, that's perfect. Yep, see that? Works well. Say here is probably the issue. There's probably missing an LED. That's why you gotta get the neon that are DIY neon that has a little bit more wiggle room to cut, and it has a lot more exposed pieces where you can solder. This one, not so much. I would not recommend this one, but if I would leave a link to the one I do recommend, that way you guys can use it. But this looks pretty cool. See that? Works well. On camera, in person, you actually cannot see this, but on camera, you can actually see it, unfortunately. But in person, you really cannot see that. Like you really wouldn't be able to see this. For some reason on camera, you can only see it on camera, but this in person, you can't really tell. So it looks great, and I'm gonna just do this one here. Perfect. So we are set. That is the leg. That is the left leg. You can tell, you know, looks great. It fits just on there. You can't even tell there's the wire. See the wire, it's out here. Now, obviously, as we go on, this wire is actually going to begin to hide within the actual print itself. So you would imagine by the end of it, you have everything hidden, which is super cool, which is what we want. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of move forward with the next step here. And it's fairly simple. I'll follow along for one last piece of this.
And then from there, you guys just speed run through it and kind of show you kind of like a time lapse, because I can go through this entire project like this and record it and follow along, but it would take way too long and you guys would probably be bored by the end of it. So let's just do one more part and I'll leave it off to you guys. So the next piece is actually this leg right here. So we need to connect this leg here to the wiring there. Okay, so we can do that. Or we can do either the leg or we can do the entire piece. Now, I'd say we do the leg because number one, you know, once this strip of neon or the manufacturer that made this is not the best. So I actually want to get the hardest one out the way first. So I'm just go ahead and get started with this. Just start stripping exactly what we just did. So I'm actually going to start from the top. Now it's only because of this one, like I said, this one from this manufacturer just doesn't do a good job. This one's going through. Okay, that's good news that it's going through. Okay, I'm not applying a lot of pressure by any means. Okay, and I open it up. Same exact thing. Amazing. So we have that. I'm gonna begin soldering there. Same exact thing. Perfect. So now I have that soldered on, or I have, it's ready to be soldered. Here, take my wire, and let's see. So how it's gonna work is I'm actually going to have, so if you look at it, this wire needs to be connected here, but it doesn't end there because we need to have the flow of electricity is going to flow through here and it's going to flow through this thing and then it needs to flow back out into the next piece, which is the long piece here. So that's why I'm making two on this board here. So I'm gonna go ahead and solder it here and then I'm gonna have another wire here coming out. So let me go ahead and do that. Perfect, so now I fit that in. Now I'm just gonna tuck in the wire first. I'm tucking in the wire first, that's important. Then start pushing in the actual stuff itself. So now, pushing everything. And then there we go. We are set. Just gonna do a quick push. Perfect. So I'm gonna do a quick test and I'm actually gonna test from here because I want to make sure that the flow of electricity is going from here to here and to here, and that's important. You always want to keep doing tests as you go, because if you don't, if you assemble everything and then connect to an outlet, you're going to figure out that something might be wrong in the process, or you don't want to figure out that something might have been wrong in the process. So let's see. So I did turn it off. Let's see. Looks good. Good job. For some reason, this side is coming out all horrible. Yes, I think it's the strip of neon from this manufacturer. Totally fine, it happens. Not really. When you get good quality neon, this will not happen. Here, let me just see, maybe. No, okay, so the lights actually work. I guess maybe it was just too far in. Let's see. Yes, so let's try again. Just do a quick test. Slightly, okay, there it goes. Yeah, so it actually wasn't the light. It's totally fine. I guess maybe the strip itself inside here, this is why you could also glue it. It probably moved downward as well, so that's probably why. That's why you couldn't see the light. Perfect, it looks good. Now, I'd say a couple of things is that if you don't want to deal with kind of having to push things down or pressure everything down, you could probably make the sign a little bit bigger in terms of height. You could also additionally, make the height bigger so you can kind of hide this white part of this section, which I'm okay with it and not a big deal. Maybe about another half or another 0.1 of an inch, so it hides a little bit more, maybe a 0.2. So this is a 0.6 height, maybe a 0.8. A 0.8 would probably be all the way up here at the very top. So that's one thing. With that, I think it looks fine. Just do a quick test just to make sure. So obviously you want to constantly do tests. You got to be patient with this. And just want to see, that way we have that light showing. Perfect, it's back, it's there, and it's good to go. The next thing we're gonna do here is our white strip. So let's see, I'm actually gonna adjust this just a bit, because let's see. Probably should have done this prior to inserting it. So with these types of project, guys, you got to be patient. This is not neon, DIY neon, or whether you purchase from someone else or you do it yourself. You got to be patient with this. If you're gonna do it traditionally with acrylic, same exact thing. You're gonna have to be soldering a lot. It's no different from here. Just the only difference is that we're using 3D printing to do this. And I'm just gonna do this. Actually, what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually gonna place this here inside. That way, it looks like this. That looks great from here. Okay, so you can see that we have it there. Now this thing keeps sliding out, so unfortunately, it's gonna be a little bit of a pain. I think I've never dealt with this type of silicone, so this neon flex here. But you can see, you can kind of get the picture. Like this strip on the outside is supposed to be connected to the red, and essentially you would just glue these pieces, that way you don't see any gaps, and that's incredibly important. You don't want to see the gap. It's not a big deal, but ideally the cleaner the better. And then from here, it looks like we can just cut this. Yeah, we can just cut that. So if I were to cut this, hopefully it can be a clean cut here. Let's see. You can see here, so if I were to take this off, we have to take it off anyway. We have this connected here, and it goes at the bottom. Perfect. See, that's what it would look like. Perfect. That looks great. And then just do a quick test just to make sure. Uh-oh. Do it from this side. Okay, perfect. It works. So we're good to go. The next thing we need to do is actually move on to the next section of this design here. This keeps coming out for some reason. Probably because you need to glue it in. But from here, it's pretty much straightforward. We're doing the exact same thing. And moving forward, what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually going to assemble this here and like this. But I'm gonna connect this wire here to somewhere around this piece of the board here. And then I'm gonna have another wire coming out specifically for this one here. And I'm gonna have another wire coming out somewhere around here. So we have a lot of playroom here, a lot of room to play with, and then somewhere, so I can have the light come in here. And then I think since there's one here, I might just connect this one to this one right here. So I know that's a little bit confusing, but it's pretty much straightforward. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of speed run through this as we covered the first two sections, which probably, in my opinion, the first part is a little bit the hardest. It's easy, but then it's hard at the same time, especially if you don't have any guidance on it. But let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, so here we go. I have successfully connected the pink side of the Kirby. So I'm gonna do a quick test just to make sure everything is working fine. I'm gonna actually use it with the remote. That way we can just ensure that, you know, everything went smoothly. That's the main point of this. We want to make sure we need to do our tests. Oh, and there it goes. Wow, that looks great. That looks perfect. On camera, it looks great too. In person, it looks even brighter. Wow, it's insane. Okay, so I haven't actually soldered this. That's why it keeps coming off. But let me just do a really quick test here. And that looks great. So I'm gonna have the remote right here. Wow, see that? Looks great. Can't even hear, there's no noise too. That's the best part about this. Wow, look how, wow, that gets really dim. That looks so cool. Oh, that's cool. I love it. Looks great. Let me do it again. Wow, that's really fast. Do 100. Cool. That looks fantastic so far. And look what we've accomplished with just a little bit of neon, soldering, patience, and a little bit of 3D printing. And this looks great so far. The next thing I need to cover is I'm gonna just turn this off, is the actual hand, and then the eyes. So I'm gonna just quickly do the hand and just kind of do a time lapse of this, and then we'll move on to the eyes, and I'll pause the video just so we can come back and recoup here, because this requires a little bit of patience here. Okay guys, so here we go, just revisiting. I finally attached the left and right arm, and it's time to see whether or not these are connected properly, okay? So I actually did not test these just yet, so I'm gonna just go ahead and give these a go, and let's see what this looks like. So, okay, I didn't turn it on, so let me just turn this on. So I'm going to go ahead and just adjust here, as I want you guys to see. And just move this here, give it a go. Let's see, let me just briefly connect these and then see if we have an actual, there it goes. Wow, that looks great. And that looks great. Like, you can't even tell this was maybe, yeah, that looks fantastic so far. Everything seems to work. The light, let's see the brightness. Wow, that's dim all the way. Wow. It's just amazing to me. I think this actually popped out a little bit at the bottom, but everything works out so well. Looks great. Now here comes the eyes. Actually, before I tackle the eyes, you can see here, the way these are angled, so you see you have this angled. I had to make an angular cut here, so it's a little bit tedious. What you can do is you can kind of get like a marker and you draw on it where you're gonna cut through the angle. So you can have like a knife and you just kind of slice it like a loaf of bread. This one, I try not to do those types of cuts. Those cuts are really tough, especially in small spaces like this. Like I said, having a larger printer where you print a larger size, it's a lot easier, but that's just letting you guys know exactly how that was done. So another thing here, so now the next piece is moving into the middle section, which is the actual eyes. Now, one thing I did forget to do actually was add another wire that comes in through here. Let's see, or a wire that comes in through here and here. It's not a big deal. I can go ahead and add that. This large piece makes it easy, but from here, it's pretty much it. So if you'd imagine, all we're doing here, it's just taking this wire, for example, just imagine this, it was connected to the other side. The wire, there's a wire that goes in, there's a little hole where the wire fits in, and then it comes out through the other side, and then, you know, obviously you'd have it connected, so that way there's a live current here when it's connected, and there's voltage there. or the lights light up here. And then there's another wire that comes in through here and through here. And this is its own separate entity. I actually did not connect this. You can see this actually moves on its own and this doesn't. So you can see there, the eyes are a little bit tedious, but with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with this, and I'll revisit you guys once I have everything set up so we can do the final test and see how it looks when everything is lit up. Okay guys, so I finally finished assembling everything. Now I'm going to move everything out the way, and it is time to power up everything and see exactly what it looks like, and just give it a go and just kind of see the final product. So here we go. This is the live current and this is the actual wire. And then from here, we're gonna give it a go, and wow, that looks great. See that, guys? That looks fantastic. So let me see, let me just get a solid connection here. Perfect, that looks great. So I have the remote right here, and wow, this is the final product. This looks absolutely amazing. From here, now it's a little bit tough as I don't have a actual connected wire. Like the wires are not connected, they're just touching each other. But you can see here, it's great. And it's really bright. I'm so shook about how bright it gets, how the whole thing gets bright, and then how bright everything gets in the process. But this looks fantastic. You see this? Now we have a final product here. The best part about, I disconnected it. The best part about this is there's no wires. Like you don't even see this. No wires at all. Like it's literally like you can literally flip. If you looked at this way, you'd be like, oh, it's just another print. But then you flip it around, and you see this, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. What does it do? And then you connect it to a power source. All of a sudden, it's a neon light, and this is so cool. You see this, guys? See, look at this, perfectly placed. I'd say any edges like this right here, you just need to glue them together. And so far, looks great. Now, obviously, a couple of changes I would probably make is that if it's had a bigger printer, I obviously would make this bigger. It'd be so much easier. Number two is probably the height. So I would say the height of this. So if this could be a little bit taller, just to accommodate everything here. So I'm just tuck these in, and nothing really comes out. Like if I were to move it out, it feels rock solid. You know, it doesn't come out any way, shape, or form. And this is what happens when you mix 3D printing with good design and a good framework to go by, and then you get a product like this. Now, obviously, it's not perfect, but it looks great. There's obviously a lot more changes that can be made, but with what we've accomplished here today, I think this looks absolutely amazing, especially for what we're able to do. And if you were to get something custom made like this by someone else, it probably would be a lot of money. So with that said, let me just do a quick glance again, and that looks stunning.
Okay, so that pretty much wraps up this tutorial here. I hope you guys had enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have found some valuable insight from this tutorial. I also went ahead and actually 3D printed a stand here, and I think it gives it such a unique look compared to it just being on its own. And obviously we need something to hold it anyway, so might as well just 3D print it while we're doing it anyway. But with that, I think it looks like an amazing project, an amazing gift that you could probably even give to someone if you wanted to. And I think also having the ability to add this as a Bluetooth remote or a feature where you can control it through some sort of remote makes it even more unique. And having just different settings here, from just being able to turn down the brightness and turn it all the way up, all the way to 100 is crazy. It goes really bright too, which is the insane part. Oops, keep pressing the wrong button here. But it looks even on camera, it doesn't do it justice. But with that said, guys, I hope you guys had enjoyed this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. I do read those comments. I would love to get some feedback and seeing whether or not this is something you guys want to see more of, whether you guys need some more information about a specific topic, or I need to clear up some information about a certain section or a certain chapter. I do want to make these as in-depth and as transparent as I can. That way you guys would hit the ground running and actually making your own sort of projects or your own sort of neon, or whether this is an introduction to 3D printing for you or into neon, this is a great way to get started. And when you have this skill, it's an indefinitely valuable thing to have in your toolkit. So if you guys had enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the thumbs up button, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions. Also, let me know what's the next one we should create for the channel, okay? So I have this one for Kirby. I have a couple of ideas of what to make next, but I also want to hear from you guys on what we should create from scratch. I'll go ahead and model it, show you the entire process just like we did here, and I'll create it into a video. So if you guys like this video, if you guys enjoyed it, and you guys want to get the STL file, of course it would be for purchase, but if you prefer to model it, I would definitely model it instead, as I already showed you guys how to model it. And from there, you guys be able to start designing or start printing and take it from there. But with that said, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you guys stay safe. Take care.